Hi there, once again, Arcon Recon. This time, Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. What an interesting football match. There were a number of issues discussed among the Manchester City people regarding the process used for team selection. The supporters, of course, they are enthusiastic about so many things. They now have so many good players. But then, in truth and fact, it needs to be well balanced. I think they thought about it in the matches that they lost previously, and they thought seriously, how do we go about the opponent? It must depend on what we know of the opponent. I was impressed. With three midfield, three defenders at the back, you had people like Stones, particularly Stones. He was not particularly good in the center of the field, and now he's out at right wing back, and I felt comfortable with it simply because of the fact that Walker is injured. And of course, they can use young Lewis, but the choice to use him was put into midfield for their plan. So now that we look at the team, we realize that the intention of Man City was to put the pressure on that opposing team and never let them come out of their own half of the field. And when the ball was played in their half of the field, they have 7 men filling in there to battle to win the ball in there. Hence the reason why they could have had 3 at the back. They did a wonderful job in it, and it only demonstrated the deficiencies of the Wolverhampton team. They couldn't get out of trouble. They couldn't make the short passes from the goalkeeper to the wing backs into the midfield. They couldn't do it very well. They succeeded in only keeping the ball away from their goal in the early stages until, of course, a penalty, and then in the second half, 2 goals. What did I admire about the coaching staff on Manchester City? It was a well thought of job, simply because of the fact that in the last match, they had too many of the players who have just joined the team, and you cannot go into teams that way. It just does not make good sense. He knows now, I'm sure, because De Bruyne was in the team, Gundogan is in the team. You had these players in. You had Mahrez doing a wonderful job, and of course you had Haaland in the striker position as well. It was an interesting situation, but it wasn't only the situation, it was how the plan went about, with the opposition getting literally no way to win that game. They tried, but there's only limitation in their efforts. Once or twice you see a humble chance that might have shown itself for them, and it brought a save from the goalkeeper or 2. But in truth and fact, it was a definite strength of Manchester City that kept them in the game and winning the game 3-0. I love what I saw, simply because of the fact that there have been a lot of discussions by the followers and the supporters of Manchester City of why don't you pick this one and why don't you leave out the other one. They were a bit choosy on Lewis coming into the team. They felt that there was more justification and one of the other players in the team, Foden, was not the one that he was thinking of using. He was thinking of using Grealish, and he did. But in truth and fact, I couldn't understand Lewis's position, if only because of the fact that he was not even playing in a right wing back position, simply because the last match he was playing there, he was roving far too much, playing a good play when he has the ball, but he's not fitting well when coming back and making a solid effort to defend. It didn't work in the first match. Now it's working simply because the pressure of Manchester City to put onto the opposition was far too much for Manchester City not to score goals. Haaland got a hat-trick. That was not difficult. He's a huge of a player. And when you've got somebody with Mahrez on the side, getting that ball and switching it into him for a first time goal, then you've got a penalty, and then you've got some tremendous passes by De Bruyne, again coming into the box, and boy, were they simply scored. It is a wonderful effort, and it is a good lesson for the people who are quarreling and probably criticizing the coach for putting the youngsters on the field and why didn't you use Foden or whatever else. You know something? He is the only one in the training field. He is the only one that can see the opposition in what he wants done for a victory. That's good methodological type of work. I love to see him do it. Sometimes I have reservations because I'm not under fielding the practice matches, and he does it. Sometimes it doesn't work for him, but I still have the greatest respect for him. And it would be nice not to get the criticisms from the public or anybody else as to who the coach will use. He's got the players. He's got a number of wonderful players. He's got players who are intelligent. We watched Axe play his game on the left side going up. Wonderful. Wonderful. He was an amazing player as he was in the last 3 or 4 games. I looked at this guy from the first time he came to Manchester City, and he just built himself into a competent player and a possible starter. There's no reason for the Manchester City fans to carry a discussion negatively or positively with the coaching staff simply because of the fact that they are not there. They don't take a million minutes work out of the training sessions. So therefore, he's got to get the chance. And when he gets it, he gets runs, he gets points out of it. So let's leave it alone. His play was just wonderful. He was just clustering the opposing half of the field with seven players and methodically closing them down into areas where either where their weakest player is, or they can only come out into a very small area that's left for them to play, where eventually they'll lose possession. That's what the game is about. It was an easy game for Manchester City, not because Wolverhampton is a bad team. No, the plan that was played against them, that hurt him. Simply because they took them into the weak areas. They took them into the fast-moving, short passing, diagonal crossing in and across the penalty area, and it had them confused. And they failed to do anything about it. Now, this must be a signal. We do not want to see the Manchester team split itself and get all sorts of unnecessary arguments, if only because of the fact that so far we've seen a lot of players take the field. And they didn't do badly. The point about it is there are only 11 people who can go there. So when you leave it up to the coach, Mr. Guardiola, you've got to understand the number of people and the methods of use in a football game. I hope you understand. It was a very interesting 3-0 victory. Congratulations to Haaland. Another one of these hat-tricks. It's going to be interesting for this young man because he is one of the strikers around. He does not want to take the ball in there himself. He doesn't want 2 or 3 touches. He gets into spaces, and anytime it comes to him in this spot, he's going to use first time and in, it's gone. That's the type of striker you're looking for. And if you get Alvarez into it, you'd make it even better. And don't ever forget that we did see some of Foden doing that in the early stages. So do not aggravate the mind of the coach as to who and when. Youngsters must come in when the time is right. It's no cause for rushing. Congratulations again to Manchester City. Wolverhampton will have a lot of work to do. They have some very enthusiastic players. Their assets are of speed and aggression. It didn't have the mind setting. It didn't have the organizational patterns that could get them results. So they may go to the blackboard now and see what they can get out of it.